the Florida Writer Podcast, a discussion about writing and other things.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast with your host, Alison Nissen. And today I am lucky enough to be joined by Florida Writers Association's newest board member and our marketing chair, Ginnye Cubel. Ginnye, thank you so much for stopping by.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Allison. I'm so excited to be here.
Can you give us a 60-second elevator pitch about who you are and what you write?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Ginnye Cubel. I am a writer, marketer, and coffee enthusiast. I have a BA in creative writing from Butler University and over 8 years of corporate, startup, and small business marketing with a focus on content, product, and email strategy. As Alison just mentioned, I also serve on the board of directors for the Florida Writers Association, and I also serve as the marketing chair. And I write urban fantasy as well as nonfiction, where I explore topics at the intersection of writing, marketing, technology, and culture. And I'm especially interested in the ways that technology, personal brand culture, and the attention economy impact and influence writing and the business of writing.
Okay, what is the attention economy?
Yeah, so the attention economy is this idea that attention is a scarce resource, and you must work to capture that resource, that attention. It's most often associated with like social media marketing, because you're vying literally for people's attention within social media marketing channels. And there's also kind of what I'm particularly interested in too, is this kind of counterculture movement to move away from the attention economy and embrace things like boredom and, doing nothing and things that don't require your constant attention as a way to kind of like spark creativity and new ideas.
All right. A little birdie told me that you have been experimenting or learning about ChatGPTs. Can you tell us what that is, what its role is in society, how it's influencing and changing readers and writers alike?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're in the writing and marketing community, you're probably a little bit sick of hearing about ChatGPT. It has been literally everywhere. Social media, news articles, blogs, everyone is getting really excited or really concerned about it. But what ChatGPT is it's a natural language processing tool that can create content, images, and even code on demand. And it does it in a conversational format, like as a chatbot. So ChatGPT is specifically built on OpenAI's GPT-3 family of language models, which is just kind of a really fancy way of saying it was created by OpenAI, which is been heavily invested in by Microsoft.
How does this change writing, or writing content?
Yeah. So the way ChatGPT works is you open and access the system and you type in a question and it will respond with kind of a conversational answer. And what's impacting the writing community is that it can also generate content like blog, social, even whole novels have been written by ChatGPT. So you can go on right now and you can say to ChatGPT, I need an 800-word blog post about the cultural impact of the Harry Potter series. And it'll literally within seconds generate an 800-word blog post about Harry Potter. So
does it give you sources?
No, it doesn't. Oh, there are a lot of limitations to it, including that it doesn't source material. And also, it is not generating this material on its own. It is basically pulling together different data points from data that it's been trained on. So it's almost like a Frankenstein kind of content creation tool. Like it's pulling different things and compiling them together based on the question or prompts or restrictions that you've given it.
So it's really only as good as the questions you can give it.
I would almost say it's only as good as the data that it's been trained on. So there are programmers, data engineers, people behind the scenes, as well as some like user input that is saying, yes, this data is valid, no, this data is not valid, and kind of training it. One important limitation to be aware of too is that it hasn't been trained on data later than September of 2021. So ChatGPT is not aware of anything that's happened after September of 2021. For example, I experimented the other day and I said, who's the Queen of England right now? And it came back with an answer and it said the Queen of England is Queen Elizabeth II. Because it hasn't been trained on that data yet, so it doesn't know.
All right, that's really interesting. I took a 30-minute course at work on ChatGPT. So as a professor, as a writing instructor, we're all a little like, oh no, the students can all cheat. And they've actually encouraged us to embrace ways to use it within our classrooms so that 1, it's not scary, 2, we're ahead of the curve, and 3, we can control the atmosphere and environment that they're using it in. They're not being left out or feeling like they could maybe get away with something. For example, using it to create an outline for an essay.
Yes.
As opposed to actually writing the essay, but writing the outline and then figuring out, is the outline, is it a good one? Would you need to rearrange it? What would you do to fill it in? Where would you change? Yeah, I think I said that already, but where would you make adjustments? So.
Well, that's maybe kind of a good segue too. Like is a lot of value in it, as well as, things that you need to be cautious about and also things that people are concerned about. But there's a lot of value in using it, like you said, for like brainstorming, like outlines. It also has like editing capabilities. So you could ask it, hey, can you edit this, 10-page essay that I've written, and it'll point out grammar and spelling mistakes, or say, hey, you might be able to, tighten up this clause here, or, you don't need a comma right here. So it's really kind of a valuable tool, I feel, for kind of some of those more, what do I want to say, granular things like brainstorming, editing, even research. You can say things like, hey, what were common, astronomical tools that were used in the 17th century? And it'll spit out a list for you. You should, of course, cross-reference that list and make sure it's actually accurate, but it at least gives you a starting point.
And this is different than Google how?
So it's different than Google a couple different ways. It's different in that it is kind of a conversational format. So it'll respond back to you in a very similar way that chatbots on like websites do. So it presents everything to you like you're having a conversation with it. Whereas Google, pulls up search results ranked based on kind of what you searched for and what they think you're trying to find. So a little bit different in that structure. Also a huge difference too is ChatGPT doesn't have access to the internet. So it can't kind of go through the internet. It can't look for relevant links or resources or information. It is only able to pull information from the data it's been trained on. Whereas we know that Google, has that ability to crawl through millions and millions of websites to look for relevancy and then serve it up to you.
Aha. Wow. Okay. This is quite an education. I'm going to just move on because, wow, I'm just going to be overwhelmed. I need to like digest everything. I know that there is, just in case there's any other professors out there, something called Chat Zero, where it's an actual, it's much like Turnitin. It's a sort of a plagiarism checker. And they say it's 99% accurate in predicting what has been written by GPT. GPT. So just to let people know that there is something out there to combat it. And I imagine that Turnitin will have that something similar incorporated very quickly to help combat cheating.
Yeah. And I can imagine we'll start to see that pop up in more places too, not only with that particular program, but others will start to follow and create their own versions where, you know, it can give you some sort of measure of whether or not an AI chatbot wrote this.
I'm just like, I'm okay. So you said you write, what is your genre that you prefer to write in?
So for my nonfiction, I really like exploring topics at the intersection of like technology and marketing, and thinking about how that impacts writing and the business of writing.
What about your fiction?
Yeah, for my fiction, I'm more urban fantasy sci-fi.
So I'm thinking urban fantasy is like you have ChatGPT meets something that creates some sort of dystopian. Oh, I know what it was. ChatGPT meets blockchain, and then they create some sort of world domination thing. I don't know. I mean, this is the problem with writers, man. Our brains go all over the place. That we've just had this encounter. So depending on when you're listening to it, but we've had this encounter with many balloons over our US airspace lately. And I'm like, oh, as a writer, I could come up with like 150,000 different stories that go along with each particular balloon.
Right? That's like the danger of being a writer. You read a news story and suddenly you're like, I have 50 like short story ideas, or I found a novel here.
I know. And then I have to write them all down. And I'm like, wait, and then I just found a whole bunch of old writing material that I had from 2013, 2014 in some lost file. And I thought, now I need to go pull this back out because it's really not that bad.
Right? It's funny what some distance will do, because I've definitely put things in file folders and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like so cringy and terrible. I'm never going to look at that again. And then I come back maybe 5 years later and I'm like, oh, actually, it wasn't that bad. I just need to, polish it up a little bit more.
Yeah, polish it up, add an ending.
Yeah, exactly. Fix
That's
that
always
one
important.
plot hole.
Yeah. A little bit of a plot hole. Maybe I can have some ChatGPT come in and fix it all.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, you could pitch that to ChatGPT. I did a brainstorming session with it earlier, and I'm like, what would be a motivation for, a young woman that just came into a lot of wealth? And it gave me 6 different motivations. And I was like, well, there's the start of the story.
I am super, super duper impressed. Thank you so much for sharing so much information about ChatGPT, because I know that so many people are, curious about how AI is influencing creative writing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so interesting too, like how explosive this topic has been, because ChatGPT just came out in November of 2022. It's not like it's been around for very long, and suddenly it's, everywhere. And we're starting to think about the impacts that it has on, human generated writing and content creators and authors, and just all of the implications that comes with.
Well, and as we mentioned earlier, writers, we have 85,000 scenarios in our brain anyway. So now all of a sudden you've given us an option to think about how we might be replaced by robots. And, our brains go somewhere just to, automatically figure that out. But you mentioned there's been novels written by what are they, or is there a way to find them, or?
Yeah. So in my research, it's been a little hard to pinpoint exactly. There's not a very comprehensive list by any reputable sites that I found. It seems most often that the books cited were written by ChatGPT or another similar AI chatbot program, and then edited by a human who then went on to publish it. But some of the titles I did find in my research that seemed accurate was there's a collection of poems that were inspired by the works of Shelley, and it's called the Shelley AI Poetry Collection. There's also a science fiction short story that was written by an AI language model and developed by the researcher Ross Goodwin called Sunspring. And then this one is my favorite for the title. It's called The AI Does Not Hate You. And it's a collection of essays generated by the AI language model and relates to topics on science, technology, art, and culture.
I don't even know where to go with all this information. Wow. My goodness. Well,
right.
Ginnye, if people wanted to find out, before we switch to rapid fire questions, why don't you tell me what's going on with the Florida Writers Association and what's new with everything going on there?
Ooh, yeah. So, kind of our exciting news for the month of February is that we've had 2 contests open. Our collection anthology. So we're on collection 15. The theme is secrets. That just opened for submissions on February 1st. And
when does it close?
It closes on April 30th. And if you're a Florida Writers Association with your membership active through October 31st, 2023, you are eligible to submit for free. So that's kind of a cool contest because you have the opportunity to be published in our anthology, which is later available for purchase on Amazon. And you get to enter for free. So always a good thing. And then also Royal Palm Literary Awards just opened up for submissions on February 1st as well. Those submissions are open until April 30th or until we hit 550 submissions. So we do cap out at 550 submissions. So if it's March 15th and your submission 551, unfortunately it didn't make the cut. So we encourage everyone to submit early so that you do get in there. But again, for Florida Writers Association members, this is an exclusive literary contest. You just want to make sure your membership is active through October 31st again. And there are entry fees that apply to the genre categories that you submit in. But you can find all that information on the Florida Writers Association website, floridawriters.org, as well as all the submission guidelines and entry fees, if applicable.
All right. Well, Ginnye, how could people get in touch with you? How could they find out more about what you're doing, what you've been up to?
So the best place to start would be my website. It's glcubel.com. So glcubel.com. That's kind of the best place to read some of my nonfiction writing. I also have some information about my fiction writing. And it's also a great place to sign up for my email newsletter. That is the primary way that I kind of communicate with people that are interested in hearing from me. I'm actually taking a break from social media right now. So while you can find me on social media, there won't be any posts on there.
So do you pass off your marketing to someone else to do all the posting for Florida writers?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've had a chance to meet him yet, Allison, but Samuel Knox, who is also one of our newest board of directors member, he is part of our content strategy and he handles our social media posting. So if you're on Florida Writers, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of that is the wonderful work of Sam.
Well, that is fantastic. All right, Ginnye, are you ready to switch to our rapid fire questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you a hat wearer?
No, I'm not. Although I wish I could be because some of the hats I see are pretty cute.
There are some cute ones and out there. Coffee, tea, or nothing?
Oh, definitely coffee. I would drink coffee all day.
Do you have a favorite brand?
Oh, I do. I really love Phil's coffee. They're primarily out of like Southern California, but you can find them in like Chicago and DC as well. But they have some of the best coffee beans I've ever tasted.
And last question. Describe the last movie you've seen.
Oh no, what's the last movie I've seen? I think it was The Glass Onion, actually. It was pretty good.
I started that. I'm going to finish it soon.
Yeah, I still think I like Knives Out the best, but it did have a couple of good moments, and there is kind of a twist in the middle where you're like, oh, okay.
Well, very exciting. I will have to finish the movie because I did, like I said, started it. Now I got to finish it. Well, Ginnye Cubel, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, Allison. It's been really fun to chat, and definitely love talking new technologies for writers.
You have been listening to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast with your host, Alison Nissen. Allison out. Woo! We're all done. Ginnye Lynn Cubel is a writer, marketer, and coffee enthusiast located in Orlando, Florida. She is a BA in creative writing from Butler University and over 8 years of corporate and small business marketing experience with a focus on content, product, and email strategy. Additionally, she serves on the board of directors for the Florida Writers Association and is the marketing chair. For more information about Ginnye, visit her at glcubel.com. glcubel.com. For more information about the Florida Writers Association, our upcoming contests, and membership, visit floridawriters.org. Until next time.